The PoE2 community overall seems down on Azmeri Spirits. However, if you haven't been paying attention, there are some truly chased talismans out there on the currency exchange. So I went ahead and bit the bullet. I spent my Atlas points in Azmeri Spirits, and I spent my gaming weekend farming for talismans. And in this video, I'm going to give you those results, the mechanics, my methodology, and overall thoughts on Azmeri Spirits and whether or not it's worth chasing after those talismans. Let's go over the results. I ran a total of 50 maps and had 65 spirit sightings and dropped a total of 8 talismans. That's a 12% drop chance on the talismans during this test. Now, the talismans that I did drop were nothing special. I did not get any of the chase talismans. However, I did come across the Spirit of the Hare twice during this test. I have never seen the Spirit of the Hare prior to my Atlas changes, but we're going to go over that. There are some points about this mechanic that I'd like to go over, starting with Wisp type. There are 3 Wisp types, Wild, Vivid, and Primal. In your Atlas, you can choose whether or not to see more of either of those 3 main types, but there is a 4th type, and that is Sacred. You cannot buff your chance at getting Sacred Spirits. These are your Rabbit Talisman and Fox Talisman. These are the chase talismans that are going for quite the div on the currency exchange. Now, of the main spirit types, Wild is likely going to be the most profitable for your spirit type selector because of the Ox. The Ox talisman is the priciest talisman of the 3 main spirit types. Currently going for 2 chaos, so nothing crazy. But if you're really truly trying to min-max, that might be an avenue for your spirit selector. I chose not to select a spirit type. I didn't want anything to detract from my chance of getting Sacred Spirits, and I couldn't find anything online or in the game tooltips that indicate how they implemented this 100% increased chance and whether or not that affects the Sacred Spirit type. So I chose not to select. I'm fine with that because I was going for the real chase talismans in this test. Fortunately, we didn't get there. Now, the next mechanic I want to go over is Spirit Influenced versus Possessed. Spirit Influenced monsters are the normal magic monsters that the spirit has passed by, and you can see that they are empowered. They kind of glow, and then there's a modifier add. Possessed is a rare or unique monster that the spirit actually goes into and buffs that monster. And when you kill that monster, that is the one that can potentially drop the talismans. Also, important note here at the bottom, the possessed, rare, or unique monster is more rewarding depending on how many spirit-influenced monsters were defeated leading up to possession. So it is important for you to allow the spirit to spirit influence the normal and magic monsters leading up to the rare. So this requires you to essentially slow down in your mapping, let the spirit go. Now you can go back and forth to affect the speed of the spirit. The closer you are, the faster the spirit goes. The further back you are, it'll slow down. So you can slow it down, let it possess, kill, go speed up, etc. This is how you can try to control how many monsters become spirit influenced and try to control the rewards of the resulting possessed, rare, or unique. Now, having said all that, seems important based on the text. In practice and in my results, I could not tell a difference between the loot quality and quantity that I was getting on that possessed, rare, or unique based on how many spirit influenced monsters I had. There were times where I influenced a crap ton of monsters and nothing really happened. An Exalt hit the floor. And then there were times where I couldn't affect that. The spirit was basically right next to the rare and possessed it right away, and the loot results were pretty much the same. I did not notice any difference. And with patch 021, GGG did add new talismans to the game. Those new talismans do not have spirits associated with them. Those talismans have a drop chance on any spirit, basically. So there's really nothing to do to try to affect your chance there other than getting more spirit encounters and just killing more possessed monsters. So let's go over my methodology for this test. We already discussed that I ran 50 maps, so that is the scope of this test, and I switched my Atlas points out of essences into Azmeri Spirits, leaving everything else the same. So in the course of this test, I was farming maps that I would farm on a regular day. So the quantity, the rarity, the tower setups, all very similar to what I normally do, which I've covered in previous videos. You can find those on my channel. So overall, pretty juiced up maps. Nothing like extremely crazy. More the type of juicing that I do as more of a casual player, but switched the points over to Azmeri Spirits. Now you'll see we discussed earlier, I did not select a spirit type selector, but for every node that gives me more chance to see spirits and etc., I have picked that up. So other than those nodes that just increase your chance at seeing spirits, there are a couple of nodes here worth mentioning. Illumination, this increases the area of effect of the spirit, so it's easier to spirit influence the regular and magic monsters along the way to the unique or the rare. I found this to be extremely helpful in making sure that a lot of the monsters become spirit influenced. And then we've got Shining Trail. So this increases the rarity of items dropped, but it also has a 25% chance to release spirits on death, which means that when you kill a rare or unique possessed monster, there's a chance that the spirit will leave and go possess another rare or unique monster. I've had this happen multiple times in a map, so essentially almost the whole map I'm chasing after a spirit. It's actually kind of fun, especially when you have that happen with the spirit of the hare. I chased that thing around the entire map, basically. That was really intense, and again, I still did not get that talisman. And then we've got Merging Worlds. This is interesting. I did not pick this up when I had my points allocated in essences, but if you are running essences or Azmeri Spirits, this is a very good node. What it does is on essences, you'll start to come across a laundry list of essence modifiers on those essence monsters. I'm talking like 5, 6 essence modifiers. So very good for essences. And then you have the chance of getting 2 spirits possessing the same rare or unique, which is also very good. And finally, regarding method, again, it is very important that you're letting the spirit influence the monsters along the way to the rare unique, and then essentially just killing the rare unique. Now regarding tabs and waystone modifiers, just touching on it briefly, I've covered my strategy in previous videos, but basically I'm getting quantity on my tabs and I'm looking for quantity and rarity on my waystones. And then I'm instilling with paranoia to increase the number of rare monsters in the map. Now, if I were to tailor that specific to Azmeri Spirits, I would probably instead instill with greed for increased rarity again, because the number of rare monsters doesn't really play into the Azmeri Spirits. Overall, for a farming strategy, I wouldn't really recommend going all in on Azmeri Spirits. I would continue to modify your tabs and your waystones for a normal farm, regardless of that mechanic, ignoring Azmeri Wisps, because you're going to want that secondary currency flowing versus going all in. Then just to show where I'm at with my rarity on my gear, currently sitting at 134%. So a typical map that I'm running had somewhere between 30 and 40 increased quantity, and then somewhere between 70 to 150% rarity on the actual map. And then I was bringing an additional 134% rarity. Overall, my thoughts on Azmeri Spirits are, I think it's a weak mechanic today. I think it needs buffs. I don't feel the difference with killing a possessed monster versus a non-possessed monster. I'm not seeing or feeling the quantity or the rarity of loot. And the overall drop chance for talismans are pretty pitiful. Basically, 1 in 10 possessed monsters in order to get a talisman. And in most cases, you're going to get a talisman that is basically worth pennies on the market. And then regarding the actual mechanic of chasing the spirits through the map, this can get pretty awkward as well. It resulted in ruining my delirium or my breach multiple times, because once you find a spirit, you essentially have to stop whatever you're doing because it could disappear. You have to go chase the spirit, and actually chasing the spirit through the map is cumbersome. There's issues there. It basically slows down your farm, which is not good. Now, having said all that, the fact that there's a talisman out on the market for 77 div today could still entice me, even with all of these issues, to continue with the Azmeri Spirits. Dropping a rabbit talisman would be awesome. However, I don't think your chances are very high of doing so. After running 50 maps, I came across it twice. I think that that was extremely lucky, because in my entire time in Dawn of the Hunt, that is the only 2 times I have ever seen a Spirit of the Hare. And in the Atlas, there's nothing here that buffs your chance of getting a sacred spirit versus one of the normal 3 types of spirits. Now, we are increasing our overall quantity and our chance of coming across a spirit in general. But again, over the course of many, many, many hours in Dawn of the Hunt, I have only seen a Spirit of the Hare twice. My overall take on Azmeri Spirits are that there are better mechanics out there to spend your Atlas points and your time doing that are going to result in a overall better farming experience, regardless of that chase talisman that's out there. I don't think that the average player is going to see that talisman ever on the floor. Having said all that, I want to hear from you and what your experience has been with Azmeri Spirits. If there's some tactic out there that I'm not aware of that I didn't cover in this video, please drop a comment. I am always looking for ways to improve my gameplay and my overall experience in Path of Exile 2, and I hope that this video did the same for you.